welcome to Open Forum.
Harold?
Yes.
How you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Good. I just got a quick question for you. Look, with this annihilationism thing, I don't see how bad. Look at me. How does that prevent me from going out and living a life of total sin? Because, hey, I get annihilated, so nothing bad happens to me. I don't feel the pain, so why not go out and live a life of sin? Honestly, that's how I'm thinking.
Life is way more than that. If you are living a wicked life, a life of sin, you have had many, many miserable days and nights. A life in this world has been miserable. You might, with alcohol and so, think that you are still make it into somewhat of a decent life, but fundamentally it's been a life of misery, and finally you die and you're gone forever, and your whole life has really been nothing. On the other hand, here is someone who is really trying to live a very decent life. They may have the wrong gospel, the wrong religion altogether, but they are trying to live very morally decent, and so on. And so in the passage of doing this, they're also obeying many of the rules of the Bible. They're not saved, and but they are having a good time here on this earth. That's the reason most people, for example, in the churches, they don't really want to think about the end of time, because life is pretty good to them. They have been encouraged by their churches to live decent, moral lives, thinking that is the fact that, or showing that they are saved. Well, that's not true, but nevertheless, it has made it possible for them to have quite a comfortable, quite a nice life here, and they really don't want it to end. And but then finally it does end with death if they have not become saved. Well, now take your pick. Would you rather live miserably most of your life and always frightened and always depressed and so on as a result of it, and then die? Or would you rather live a life here that is quite comfortable and quite happy in many, many ways, with family and with friends and the good things, the sunshine that God provides and so on? Take your pick. There's a huge difference between those two.
Well, okay. But sin is awfully pleasurable a lot of the time, don't you think? Hello?
Well, sin can be pleasurable, but sin has a bite. We can hear someone who commits adultery, and a child is conceived, and now you can't hide it, and maybe you have to pay alimony or pay child support rather for that child, and that means that you're going to be short on money and yet you don't have a family and so on. There's all kinds of ugly consequences that follow up on sin. Sin is very deceitful. We think that sin is going to bring some kind of happiness, and maybe momentarily it does, but in the long run, sin brings its own disasters and its own unhappiness. All you have to do is talk to people who have come from a family where they have broken God's laws very extensively, and be able to listen to the messes that have been created in their life. No, sin does not. That is delusionary. That is absolutely deceptive. That sin is pleasurable.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right, man. I guess I'll think about that.
Thank you. But the fact is, you see, God, we have our standard of holiness. We have our standard of punishment. But God has a perfect standard of holiness, a perfect standard of justice. You know, he is has no pleasure in the death of the wicked. He has established laws that says neither we nor he can just continue beating on somebody who is been wicked. There has to be a limit, because man was created in the image of God, and God expresses His love even for those who are not saved, just as David, for example, who was a tremendous type of Christ, had a son, Absalom, who was a horrible son, a renegade. He tried to take the kingdom away from David. He drove him out of Jerusalem and was out to kill him. And when the soldiers of David fought with the soldiers of Absalom, and Absalom was killed, how does David react? Oh man, am I glad he was my son, but oh, what a black sheep he was. It's good riddance. I'm so glad he's gone. No way. David is crying out, Absalom, Absalom, my son, Absalom. Would to God I had died instead of he. I mean, it's giving us a demonstration that God has no pleasure in the death of the wicked. So
right.
we are a lot more vicious because we're sinners. We're a lot more vicious in what we think is proper retribution for wrongdoing than God is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, before I sign off, I just want to say, if you are wrong about May 21st, 2011, you're going to come off as a major douchebag, okay? So you do know that, right?
Thank you for calling and sharing.
All right, see you, bye.
Shall we take our next call, please? Welcome to Open Forum.